Hey, welcome back to Cylance TV. I am still Matt Stephenson. Now we're going inside the building because we're always looking for some cool and interesting things to talk about. I've got Rob Bathurst here, and Rob, you've got a couple of different hats that you wear inside of Cylance, but not necessarily all Cylance things. Tell me what you got going on.
Yeah, so at Cylance, I primarily manage the healthcare and life sciences aspects of the corporation. So what we do inside of clinical security, how we deal with IOT devices, medical devices, issues that may affect healthcare providers. In addition to that kind of overarching goal that we have CypherFrame, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Cylance that makes products specifically dedicated to dealing with the problems that legacy technology faces.
Now, I know a hot thing, I say hot, it's everything right now inside of healthcare, is protecting the medical devices. What is Cylance doing with that as opposed to what CypherFrame would be doing with that?
Yeah, so Cylance primarily focuses on getting the endpoint agent onto the product to prevent malicious execution on that medical device. That's extremely important for kind of the new technology, the technology that can support advanced capabilities. What we deal with inside of CypherFrame is legacy technologies that really don't have the ability to have security themselves.
And why is that such an issue? That's something that I've heard going back to every healthcare show I've ever been to.
Well, it's most of the legacy technology that we deal with, the MRIs, the CTs, infusion pumps, patient monitoring systems, are meant to be deployed for anywhere between 10 and 15 years. And so, as you can imagine, the design goals of 10 to 15 years ago tend to be very, very different than they are presently. And so what the technology is designed to do is to give you that next gen, that additive capability that you wouldn't be able to put on the machine to merge with your corporate security posture.
And those things are kind of the weak points in the wall, right? Like the cliche is the guy who uses the fetal heart monitor to get inside a hotel isn't trying to kill the baby, he's trying to access accounting. And what is it? Why are they seeking that spot out as opposed to other points on the network?
Yeah, it's an unprotected pivot point usually. So what you deal with medical devices are they have a operating system just like everything else. They have RAM, storage. They are for the most part their own computer, their own isolated environment. The problem is because they're their own computer and their own isolated environment, they speak to the network just like any other computer would, but they have none of the defenses that you'd normally see inside of a corporate machine, inside of your normal laptop. And so what we're doing and why it's important is to cut off the communications route to and from a potentially infected or malicious device. And that's important for things like ransomware, for things like pivot attacks, things for using that as a backdoor to relaunch something from. A lot of times what you'll find with current threat vectors, with current issues with malware, current problems in the corporate network, the malware will not fully install on a medical device, or the attack will not fully embed into a medical device. They use things like the network communications, the resources of RAM as a way to hold it or force it to reboot or then maneuver from that point.
Now, I know that CypherFrame, God, listen to that. Let's do that again. Now, I know that CypherFrame up until recently has been not quite a skunkworks product, but it's not necessarily all over the news. Tell me what you guys are doing in there, because I think there's some really cool stuff.
Yeah, so CypherFrame has been a skunkworks product as we've been working on some of the more advanced features, the network analysis features, the ML and AI specific to the domains we're working with. And so what we're doing there is addressing three industry verticals. Primarily it's OT technology, so operational technologies, industrial control systems, medical technologies, so things like medical devices, clinical support systems, the other 60% of a corporate network that you never see, those legacy, those dark technologies, those non-traditional IT nodes. And the last we're doing is automotive space. So taking the same common platform that CypherFrame has and applying it to the electrical control units inside of a vehicle.
Now that specifically is the part that I thought was amazing. Break that down. I may be the only one who thinks this is the coolest thing ever, but just give me that one little tidbit that I think is so amazing.
The electrical analysis inside of the vehicle.
Yes.
So the electrical analysis is kind of uniform throughout the platform, and what we're doing with that is a couple different things. Depending on the deployment model, whether it be automotive, whether it be medical technology, it allows us to accomplish kind of two primary goals. One, it allows us to do clientless network access control, so we can determine whether or not the node is the node without things like client certificates, without passwords, without anything. You plug it into it, it does an electrical analysis of the fingerprint, and we make a determination whether or not that should be communicating, how it should communicate, what the issues might be. And then the second factor we do with it is things like the overall health of the system. So if we notice things like unusual power draw, if we notice any kind of modulation or issue across the wire that may represent something like malware operating on the system, or a potential failure in the communications hub just due to wear. A lot of these systems are on 24/7. A lot of these systems under extreme heat, extreme cold, particulates, so things get into the system. Sand, blood, rain, could be a lot of things.
I like that you went to blood as the second possible option that got in there. Oh wait, I guess in healthcare that's more of a possibility. Fair enough.
Medical devices. Hermetically sealed is an issue in a lot of places.
Very good.
And so the electrical analysis allows us to make first order decisions what the device should be allowed to do in a matter of microseconds. So faster than a human being could generally think of whether or not something is yes or no, the system makes a determination whether the electrical signatures should permit this device to communicate.
And we know that we can take your word for it because you once testified before Congress.
3 times.
Oh, wow, very good. All the information you need on stuff like this, you can get at Cylance.com. You can also find us on Twitter at Cylance Inc. and at Cylance Insider. Rob, very wisely, not on Twitter anymore. If you're looking for me, I am at PacMat73. I want to go find more cool stuff like examining electrical waves to find out if malware is in place. Come on back.